Wallflower 2007 says, Bruce, have you noticed that in Brooks Brown's 911 call, he claims to have seen a shooter walk into the school, but never brings this up again in his official story? Let's go over that. Let's go. That's a good thing to go over. Let's go over that right now. Les Xylophone says, Morris was a groomer slash handler. I'm not sure. I'm not sure to what level they were MK Ultra, because even in Chris Morris's phone call, I don't know, he almost sounds like a scared kid. I don't know. How much do you think he was acting in official capacity versus simply being MK Ultra?
I know.
Let's go over one of these earlier interviews from Brooks Brown as we dive into Brooks Brown, one of the biggest enigmas in this case.
I've known him for so long. I've known him for so long. He wasn't that violent of a person ever.
Did you ever hear him talk about hating the jocks or hating black people? Or
everyone at our school talks about hating one group or another, but he always did it jokingly.
What about these reports that they were picking out black people to deliberately shoot them?
No, they weren't racist. They hated everybody. As sick and demented as that may be, they didn't mean anything by it.
What do you think happened to your friend Dylan?
Just, he's a follower. He just got taken into Eric, because Eric helped him get attention. Dylan and Eric were never liked by anyone.
And Dylan's parents are going through a terrible time.
Yeah, I've just been watching a lot of the news shows, and I know that they've been putting them off as kind of like these horrible parents, you know, what did they do to make their kid turn out like this? And they didn't do anything. I mean, they were nice people. I mean, I've known Dylan since I was 5.
Dylan went to the prom on Saturday night.
Yeah.
Nothing unusual happened?
No, they had a great time. My friend went with them. My friend doubled with Dylan and his date, and they had a great time. There's nothing. You could not have seen this coming a million years away.
Could not have seen this coming despite countless months of chatter regarding it happening. So I think Brooks is just distancing himself like all the others have, even that had inside knowledge.
Are you going to be okay?
Probably not. I know I'm not going to be able to go back to Columbine. Ever. 2 of my really good friends shot and killed people there. And I have another couple of friends that are on the missing list. I have a number of friends who are in hospitals right now in surgery. I'm never going to be able to go back there.
Just a quick aside here. I don't know why I'm compelled to say this, but I'm going to say this because it jumps out at me, and this is a totally genuine show. Notice how adult and mature, even in just the terminology, the verbiage of everything Brooks Brown is. If this happened today, you know, look at teenagers today. They're so immature. They're just mentally so devolved, IQ-wise. That's just jumped out at me there. Like, he's actually able to process and elucidate certain things. Now, how much of it he's spewing, he's intentionally BSing or not, I mean, that would only point to even greater maturity and intellectual capacity, morality aside here. So let's look at the, let me catch up on the comments and we'll look at the 911 calls here. Lord Zed's really melting down here regarding the Trenchcoat Mafia label. There were several groups of friends that overlapped. Eric and Dylan did have friends outside of the Trenchcoat Mafia who they hung out with, and there were certain friends that were formerly Trenchcoat Mafia that were no longer Trenchcoat Mafia that they remained friends with. I mean, this is really simple stuff, Lord Zed. Very, very simple. Oh yeah, Les Alphonse said, just like Nate Dykman's interviews, it was hella scripted and his dad fumbled the script. Oh wow, Dykman's another one, yeah, with the car involvement. There's a lot of weird stuff with Dykeman, and he's getting out of Dodge real quick. Let's look at the 911 calls here.
Guy 911. We have some information we think might be important about the shooting.
And Randy Brown is also highly suspect. I think was he a moderator on one of the Reddits? I think it was it him or somebody else, but they banned me from all of the Columbine Reddits, so that should tell you something. They are absolutely terrified of logical, objective, neutral examination into the Columbine case.
Columbine? Okay, what is it, sir? We know who the kids are. Okay, and do you have names? Yes. Go ahead with them. We're sure about Eric Harris. Eric Harris. My son saw him, and my son played with him. Okay. Hello. Hi, what's your name? Brooks Brown. Okay, Brooks. What other names do you have besides Eric?
I have major possibilities.
Okay.
Dylan Klebold.
Yeah, we got his.
Was anybody able to get their hands on an unredacted version of this? Let Xylophone says, I was banned from the Columbine subreddit for calling Randy out. Yeah, a lot of illogical goofering. They're absolutely terrified of logical, objective, neutral discussion. Dr. Dingledorf says, what mind control, government or otherwise connections are there? Yeah, there's a ton. There's a ton. I haven't even finished going over them. One of the biggest ones is the Eric Harris supposedly had some kind of handler that he went to once a week. We went over that before. Just not a lot of information on it, as one would expect there not to be. Was anybody able to get their hands on the unredacted 911 audio here? Because this is either they're conveniently changing the tape, or they censored it, because he named other people here.
It would be, if there are three, it would be the only possibility.
If there aren't three, so he's pretty sure there are three. And there possibly could be more. So is he saying if there aren't just three? And he named a whole bunch. All very curious here.
Okay. Did you see them at all?
I saw Eric.
Okay.
Right before the shooting.
Are you okay?
I'm like freaking out because he basically handed me my life on a platter. He told me, Brooks, I want you to leave. And as I'm walking down the street, because I take Eric very seriously, as I'm walking down the street, the cops started going out. I'm like,
okay. We need you to calm down. Okay. You're lucky you're safe now. Okay. We're doing a debriefing over at Leewood Elementary. And if you can, you and your dad go over there. You can tell the investigators what you saw and what Eric said to you. Okay.
At Leewood?
Yeah, Leewood Elementary.
1 second.
Thank you, Brooks.
This has to do with Columbine.
Okay.
I can guarantee you the three people that were just picked up are not the shooters.
Okay.
Because I will positively, I witnessed one of the shooters walk into the school. I know who he was, and I know his hair color, and all those three guys, none of them matched it.
So is he talking about Eric here, or is he talking about somebody else? I think most people would assume he's talking about Eric Harris right there. What are you referring to, Les Xylophone? Les Xylophone says, Randy blocked me because I said if Brooks was innocent, why wasn't the parking lot camera video released that would absolve him? Yeah, that's kind of weird. I mean, I wouldn't have phrased it that way, but yeah, I mean, I just ask questions. I don't make presuppositions, but they can't handle the certain questions being asked because they have a vested interest in a certain narrative being the only narrative that is available. So, Les Xylophone, are you saying he's not referencing... I think most people would assume, again, just an assumption, would assume he's talking about Eric Harrison.
And I know how they think. There's no way that they're this stupid.
Okay. We'll let our SWAT team know. Can I get your name?
My name is Brooks Brown. I've called a number of times. Eric is one of them. I know that.
Okay, Brooks, can you phone number?
0103
out.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
We had some information on Columbine.
Okay.
147, we got 9, just fled the southeast door. They're familiar with the theater. I think they're in the light booth of the auditorium.
The what booth?
The light booth is
Okay.
right at the top of the auditorium behind us. There's a window, just a minute, my son.
That's interesting that they're saying that they're in a light booth at the top of the auditorium. Now, keep in mind, I went over this before as well. Multiple shots were heard while Eric and Dylan were together in different parts of the building. So, for example, when they were in the cafeteria, there were shots being heard in the library, in the administrative hallway. And when they were in the library, there were shots being heard elsewhere in the building as well, including reports from the auditorium.
Hi, I've worked with one of the people that's positive the shooter.
Okay. Who's the shooter you thinking?
Eric Harris, I'm positive about.
Did you see him?
He told me.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure the others don't really want to name names, but
There's light booth, top of the auditorium.
it's in the back of the auditorium. I think they're either upstairs in that, or they're on the catwalk, or the loft on that.
Wow, that's a lot of different places. The back of the auditorium, or the catwalk, or the lawn. It's a lot of places. When they're supposedly in the library, this is very curious, isn't it?
Stage.
Okay.
Just because they play like.
Okay. And what's your name?
My name is Brooks Brown. I've moved that while I called you today.
Okay, Brooks, I'll let them know.
Hi.
Thank you very much.
So that's that call there by Brooks Brown. Very curious. Very curious. Les Xylophone says, to believe the white shirt he's wearing in his interview is the same one folks ID'd him on the 20th, screaming go and throwing bombs. I don't believe that was him. Are you saying, Les Xylophone, you think... Yeah, Les Xylophone, if you want me... I mean... Here, hold on a second. You've been here forever. Let's get you, Let's get you your moderator title here. You can post links directly in the chat now. You should be able to. If you want to post links to screenshots, I can put them on the screen as well. Les Xylophone says, I think Brooks was the white shirt bomber. I thought that was somebody older. That's interesting. I don't think I remember anybody IDing Brooks as the white shirt bomber. I might have to reread a lot of that with that in mind. For some reason, I thought that was someone who didn't go to Columbine. So either somebody who had previously graduated or one of their friends from the neighboring high schools that was in the Trenchcoat Mafia. Does anybody else in the chat have any thoughts on this? Yeah, Les Alphon said he even says he walked away from Eric and heard shots go off. Yeah, I do remember that. So it wasn't Eric. For some reason, yeah, I have to, cause, wait a second. Chris Wisher was one of the main guys who saw the white shirt bomber, right? Let's look at his account again. Wouldn't he have been able to ID Brooks? Let's look at the clip here. This is Chris Wisher, one of the most damning accounts. And this is actually one of the first accounts I looked into when I was re-examining Columbine. WhatReallyHappened.com. This was posted 8 years after Columbine. It's titled Columbine 8 Years Later. And it just says here, submitted by a reader. There is no name here. Columbine, 101 witnesses. Can't be wrong. And, of course, reference will be made to the 11K report, and this was, of course, Jefferson County's document release, November 21st, 2000, 11,000 pages of witness testimony. Some of it is heavily redacted, and one also has to wonder, what is not released? How many thousands of pages are not released that include even more damning testimony or information than what is released? But the fact that there's so much in what already was released, how can one not question what was not released? But let's continue here. According to the final report of the investigation, only 2 people, Eric Harris, 18, and Dylan Klebold, 17, planned and executed the mass shooting at Columbine High School outside Littleton, Colorado on April 20th, 1999, leaving 15 dead and 23 wounded. But at least 101 eye and ear witnesses remembered it differently. 1. Chris Wisher, sophomore, page 1261. He turned and saw 2 guys carrying shotguns and wearing black trench coats. A third guy, wearing a white t-shirt and jeans, was seen throwing bombs onto the roof. So we have a third individual spotted by Chris Wisher. Now, to those that saying this was some kind of misinterpretation, we have a video interview with Chris Wisher. Let's listen to it right now.
This is Channel 4 Live. Can you tell us your name, please?
Chris Wisher.
Chris, where were you?
I was in back of the school behind the cafeteria when we heard what sounded like fireworks. So we went back. We started running. We came back. We just figured it was fireworks. We looked up. We saw 2 kids in trench coats with guns and another kid just standing there on the side of the school in white. We saw him. One of them turned at us, started shooting.
Toward you?
Yeah, towards us. We were probably 100 yards away. We fell to the ground, and then the bullets stopped. I don't know what he was doing. He might have been reloading or something. So we got back up. We looked over. We saw the kid in the white throwing the bombs on top of the school. He's some kind of grenade or something. I don't know what it was.
And he was dressed in white?
He was wearing a white shirt, yes. And I don't know whether he was armed or not with a gun. And at that time, we just ran.
Please don't give us any names, but did you recognize these students?
Yeah, I thought I recognized one of them.
As a current student?
Yeah.
Okay, glad you're...
So, I don't know if I don't know if it's... We're just guessing here whether he was referencing if he recognized the one in the white shirt or not. Or he recognized either Eric or Dylan.
Okay, have you reconnected with your mom and dad now?
Yeah, I've talked to them. They're probably watching right now.
Well, I hope you're okay. Thanks so much for talking, Carol. You know, we're with Chris. You're one of the ones who said you saw the gunman shooting at you.
Yes.
Correct? He was shooting at you.
Yeah.
Now, you say you saw police just arrest him?
Well,
Please don't give us a name on the air, but go ahead and tell us what happened.
He got in a black police car. Police had a lot of security around him. It's the kid that I've seen around school a lot. I'm pretty sure that's him. I'm not gonna say it's a 100% guarantee that was him, but I'm almost positive it was.
Is he the one you believe was shooting at you on the playground today?
Yes, I believe it was.
How can we misinterpret that? Chris Wisher here is stating that the third suspect was arrested, or possibly another shooting suspect, another shooter was arrested. He is stating here he saw the shooter. Now, he does say he's not 100% positive, but he's stating that he saw somebody shooting at him get arrested. Curious.
Was he dressed in a trench coat?
Yeah. Well, when they just took him away, he wasn't, but he was then.
Was he handcuffed?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's referring to Chris Morris here, possibly.
Is he talking? Were police...
He was just quiet.
Okay. Thanks, Chris. I know that's emotional for you. I'm sorry you're upset. Thanks so much for talking to us. Again, he describes the situation where they were out on the grounds of the school at lunchtime, that this person in a trench coat started shooting directly at them. They hit the ground, and then they just came running up to say that they saw that particular person. They believe that particular suspect was just loaded into a police car. Christina Yao is here. Maybe you can...
Okay, so you could say he's mistaken, but the coincidence theorist pretending and hallucinating that something was lost in translation, we have it here on video. Not all of the news footage was completely scrubbed. Some of it is still available on the internet. Some of it was FOIA'd, some of it was gotten by various researchers, some of it was simply archived. There was a lot more on YouTube back in the day, years and years ago. Most of it has been scrubbed. Most of the questionable stuff has been scrubbed, coincidentally. But some of it remains. Some of it was saved by people and re-uploaded. So that is Chris Wisher's account. In no uncertain terms, he is clearly stating there were 3 individuals, one of them in a white t-shirt and jeans, now he didn't mention the jeans in this video interview, but it's mentioned in the 11K report, that this individual was throwing grenades, and he's saying another individual who was shooting at him was just arrested. He does state he's not 100% positive, but he believes it was this individual. Who knows? Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but we have it from his mouth. So all the coincidence theorists out there, there's no misinterpretation here. This is what he stated. So let's look at through the 11K documents. This is interview with Chris Wisher on 4/20/99 at about 1600, 10 hours. I was contacted by Chris Wisher in the parking lot of Clement Park. Wisher stated he had already been interviewed previously, but that he wished to contact me and provide me with further information. And this is written by reporting officer Moore. So Wisher is going to the officer with further info because he identified an individual, not Klebold and Harris. So here it is. Wisher stated that he was behind the school by the cafeteria when he heard what he thought was fireworks going off. Wisher said he saw 2 kids in trench coats and described one of the kids as wearing a white t-shirt and throwing bombs on the school. So 2 kids in trench coats, 1 kid not in a trench coat, t-shirt, throwing bombs. Wisher said he was not positive, but he believed one of the suspects was redacted. Wisher said that the other kid in the trench coat fired a shotgun at him, and that at this time he knew what was going on was real. And just for clarification, Klebold and Harris's names are not redacted. So when there are redacted names, also the length of the words of redacted are various lengths as well. So you can kind of see that he's not talking about Klebold or Harris in certain situations when Klebold or Harris is also mentioned in the same sentence that is not redacted. Wisher stated that the other suspect in the trench coat had an automatic rifle. Wisher stated that after the incident started, he ran from the scene through a field and waved down a car and went to someone's house and called 911. Wisher stated that his first interview was in more detail as to what occurred at this time. Wisher stated the reason he wished to contact me was the fact that a reporter had contacted him while he was standing outside the crime scene tape, and the reporter knew that Wisher had been interviewed by law enforcement officers. He stated the reporter asked him if the kid that was sitting in the red van being interviewed by law enforcement officials was one of the suspects. Note, the person in the red van being interviewed was redacted. Wisher stated that the reporter asked him to go up to the van and look and see if that was one of the suspects and to let him know. Wisher stated he looked at redacted and then told the reporter that it looked like one of the suspects, but he could not tell him for sure if it was. I then asked Wisher if the person in the van was one of the suspects he saw. He told me that redacted looked like one of them, but he could not tell me it was one of them. He stated he was unsure if this was the same person he had seen in the parking lot. Many speculate he's talking about Brooks Brown here, and that it was also not the person in the white shirt. So I'm looking through some of the documents right now. There were 2 white shirt individuals described. One of them had a white dress type shirt, like a button up, not a t-shirt. So there was more than one individual identified with a white shirt. So, yeah. And also, obviously, a white shirt and jeans. I mean, isn't that the most popular outfit ever? So that doesn't really narrow it down, even if Brooks Brown did match that. Flap Bob in the chat saying there's more red flags around this event than the Chinese embassy. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know how many people think it's Brooks Brown being described as the white t-shirt bomber that was lobbing bombs from the roof. Does that match the timeline, though, as Brooks was leaving? I'm not sure that all matches up, because there were quite a few witnesses that described the white t-shirt bomber. I think after the time that Brooks would have already left. Obviously I'm not 100% on this, but we need like an AI map of where everyone was at all times. I'm going to start working on that. An interactive map of where everyone was at all reported, because that would be helpful. But from my recollection on the students that were fleeing that mentioned the white t-shirt bomber, I think that might have been after Brooks had already left, which was an older individual in their 30s according to others. Again, I'm just mixing and matching here to see who saw what. This is the FBI document that follows here. Again, you can find this all in the 11K reports. This was dated April 28, 1999. April 27, 1999, Christopher Howard Wisher, date of birth March 1983, of his address, Littleton, Colorado, telephone number, stated his telephone number here, was interviewed at this residence in the presence of his father, Howard E. Wisher, date of birth April 12, 1949. After advisement of the identity of the interviewing agent and the nature of the interview, he provided the following information. Wisher is a sophomore at Columbine High School. He normally eats lunch during fourth period, which he has free, and at the end of the period at 11:10, he and his friends normally go outside. On April 20th, 1999, just prior to the 11:15 bell, he and his friends, Jake Abodaka, Josh Chavez, and John, last name unknown. That's curious. The FBI doesn't even know the last names of the student, and they couldn't verify with the yearbook. Weird. We're sitting at a table inside the cafeteria near the south window, which faces a parking lot. Wisher saw Dylan Klebold walk into the southwest entrance to the cafeteria from the parking lot. He was dressed all in black, with black trousers, black shirt, black boots, a black trench coat, and a black Colorado Avalanche hat worn backwards. You know, the other thing, too, how come nobody after the fact identified Brooks Brown, right? Because after the fact, people were IDing Eric, Dylan, and Robert Perry, and Chris Morris. I haven't seen a single report where Brooks was specifically ID'd as the white shirt bomber. Am I missing something, Les Telephone? Or anybody else in here? Am I missing something? Has anybody actually ID'd Brooks Brown as the white t-shirt bomber after the fact? Like, for example, seeing Brooks Brown and doing TV interviews, they're like, wait a second, that's the guy that was lobbing bombs. Has anybody, has that happened? Which had a Boston Red Sox emblem sewn on it. Wisher does not recall Klebold carrying anything and saw him walk over to the vending machines in the cafeteria. According to Wisher, during lunch, Klebold and Eric Harris would normally sit in Klebold's BMW in the parking lot on the south side of the cafeteria and watch people. Wisher only knows Klebold and Harris by sight, so he knows Klebold and Harris and what they look like. He's not friends with them personally. He doesn't know them, as they're stating here. He's not good friends with them or anything. He only knows them, basically who they are in general, and can identify from a distance. After the 11:15 bell, Wisher and his friends walked out of the southwest exit of the cafeteria towards the soccer field. He heard a sound which sounded like fireworks, similar to a string of Black Cat firecrackers going off. Wisher indicated that prior to April 20th, 1999, he had never heard gunfire. About 50 yards away, outside on the west side of the cafeteria, he saw a tall, white male dressed all in black with a black trench coat and what he thinks was a black hat and dark sunglasses. At the time, he did not recognize this person, but thought it might be redacted. A member of the Trenchcoat Mafia who is about the same height and build. And to all the coincidence theorists and those attempting to rewrite the narrative of Columbine, the official narrative, the Trenchcoat Mafia being a myth was kind of instituted as well, but you'll hear many, many students refer to the Trenchcoat Mafia and members of the Trenchcoat Mafia. So to the goofs that try to pretend the Trenchcoat Mafia never even existed, that's quite silly. Now, supposedly, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold were not official members of the Trenchcoat Mafia. They simply were friends with members of the Trenchcoat Mafia. So, and they hung out with members of the Trenchcoat Mafia. So to those saying the Trenchcoat Mafia wasn't even real, you have countless references. It's in all the FBI reports, the police reports, the eyewitnesses who were present, who actually went to the school and were familiar with the Trenchcoat Mafia and Trenchcoat Mafia members. So all of this information, the devout coincidence theorists and authority-worshipping cultists who believed whatever they saw in the idiot box for the rewritten narrative, some of them maintained there's no Trenchcoat Mafia. Okay. So Wisher saw this person shoot at 3 students near the southwest corner of the cafeteria with what he thinks was a shotgun based upon the loud noise and the slower rate of fire. This shooter then pointed the shotgun at Wisher and his friends and fired 4 or 5 shots at them. Wisher and his friends fell to the ground, covered their heads. When Wisher looked up, he saw the gunman walking towards the southwest cafeteria entrance. Wisher also saw a white male dressed in a white short-sleeved t-shirt and blue jeans kneeling with his back to him near the northwest corner of the cafeteria. He did not recognize this person, and since his back was to him, could only tell he had either light brown or blonde hair. This person had no weapon nor other gear visible. Wisher saw this person throw an object one-handed on top of the cafeteria library roof. It appeared metallic with sunlight glinting off of it. 1 or 2 seconds after landing, it exploded with a loud bang, a flash of fire, and a pall of smoke. While he observed the person in the black trench coat shooting outside and the person in the white t-shirt throwing the explosive device, he also heard very rapid gunfire coming from somewhere within the school. Let me read that part again. While he observed the person in the black trench coat shooting outside and the person in the white t-shirt throwing the explosive device, he also heard very rapid gunfire coming from somewhere within the school. Wisher was unable to see who was doing the shooting or tell exactly from where inside the school it was coming from. After this person threw the bomb, Wisher and his friends got up and ran to a nearby house on Teller Street, where Wisher called his father to let him know he was safe. Howard Wisher indicated he noted the time of the call as 11:20 a.m. Wisher knows 2 members of the Trenchcoat Mafia, Joe Stair, a former Columbine student who graduated last year, and Chris Morris. He spoke with Morris once about the sport of paintball, which they both play. Wisher indicated Morris normally sits by himself at a table on the south side of the cafeteria near the window, but he cannot recall if he saw him in the cafeteria on April 20th, 1999. So that's actually quite curious because I don't know if Morris and Joe Stair's names are not redacted because they're not being accused here. They're simply members of the Trenchcoat Mafia. They're not directly named. I don't know if these particular names are redacted elsewhere where they're being accused of being shooters. That's unclear to me, so I don't know what to make of that. Because I believe other individuals named Joe Stair and Chris Morris as shooters, and they might have those names redacted elsewhere. But in this particular area of the document, it's curious because does that mean Wisher is not referring to either one of them? Since it's just curious the way that it would be written into this report. Now, what's also curious in some of these follow-up reports, including with Wisher, apparently he's being convinced by investigators because he's shown pictures of Harris and, coincidentally, one of the agents is Special Agent Harris. I'm assuming no relation to Eric Harris. This is Special Agent Matthew Harris, who first interviewed Christopher Wisher. And they showed him all these pictures. Then, and again, this is all in the report here. Wisher stated he was almost positive it was not redacted. Then the investigator told Wisher that redacted was not at the school at the beginning of the incident. Wisher replied, "Then I guess it is not him." So is this a weird attempt, not necessarily at intimidation, but at controlling the narrative after the fact? That is kind of weird, right? How they're trying to gaslight Chris Wisher, saying that this individual wasn't there. That is interesting. Because this follow-up report is October 13th, 1999. I mean, this is months and months later. The incident is no longer fresh in his mind, and the investigator might be telling him the guy that he identified was not at the school. We also don't know the tone of this interview. Because if this is an intimidation-type interview where they're trying to get him to change his story, either way, the original reports, the original accounts, he's clearly stating he knew both Klebold and Harris. He's clearly stating that the other individual is not them. He's clearly stating there are 3 individuals. He's also stating that while 2 of the individuals were in his view, someone else was shooting inside the school. So that's kind of curious, isn't it? Coincidence theorists can't explain that.